You are listening to the Hey Kids Comics Radio Show, broadcast through the facilities of Trent Radio on 92.7 CFFF-FM in Peterborough, Canada.
Hey kids!
Look, up in the sky! It's a bird!
It's a plane!
It's dance off, bro! Me and you!
Hello and welcome to Hey Kids Comics. I'm Dan Collins.
Hey there, this is Martin Bruda.
Chris Gilpin.
I'm Adam Bishop.
I'm Chris Ellis.
I'm the Hey Kids Comics Desperado.
I'm Batman.
Who's a villain in Captain Canuck? What does he do? Taking our maple syrup, eh?
I'm gonna chuck my hockey puck in my beer bottle at you. Take off, you hoser.
Gwenpool. I mean, Spider-Gwen, the whole heat and stuff. This is gonna be worth a few bucks. And nobody wanted it.
The biggest bane to my existence right now is S.H.I.E.L.D. number 9.
When you're trying to come up with an offensive movie that you want to reclaim, it's time to segue into the next porn comic segment, Adam.
How can you not have seen Airplane? What are you guys, young?
I talked to him directly, so I got a mass order. So I have like a good 5-inch stack inside my comic box.
Yeah, right on.
That's below average.
Hulk! Smash!
Welcome to the Hey Kids Comics Radio Show. I'm one of your hosts, Martin Bruda, and with me this week are
Adam Bishop,
Chris Ellis,
Dan Collins,
and Tony White.
Lads, how are we this week?
Doing well.
Great. Excellent. I'm chugging the coffee because I just got back from a Christmas party. So
I got eggnog in my mug, actually.
Lucky.
So this week we've decided we're going to talk about our favorite trade paperback collected edition graphic novel that we reread on a regular basis. What is the one volume of comic book work that deserves a reread every year? And the list is huge. I don't know about you guys, but I we kind of said we're going to pick 2 each. There's way more than 2 that I read on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that we won't have too much overlap, but I think we got a few books here to select. So who'd love to go first with their stuff? Please put Adam at the end because he has porn.
An image. I'll go first. Sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
let it rip, Tony.
Yeah. So I have 2 that I generally reread, but I do have a few I have a couple that I reread around Christmas time for whatever reason. I think one of them being Crisis on Infinite Earths.
A classic seminal work and so apropos with Mr. Perez and his announcement this week.
True enough, yeah. I usually reread that for whatever reason. I have not cracked this open yet, but I've had this for a while. I won it at an auction. But this is the one this is the replacement one that I reread. And I don't know why, but I was, in 1986, I think, God, I was what, 12, 13? And I think around Christmas time was the issue where Supergirl died. Yeah. I think it was either that or The Flash. And I think it stuck with me. So I think I reread it the following Christmas all at once. And I sort of started doing that on a regular basis. I don't know. It's like comfort food for me. So yeah,
Crisis,
I guess
Crisis is just fantastic. For those of you folks that are maybe possibly of Marvel persuasion and don't understand Crisis, give us a little bit of synopsis there, Tony. What happened in this amazing work to make it so seminal?
There were numerous deaths and introductions in this series, but the biggest thing was taking the entire multiverse and combining it into a single new Earth with a convoluted history. Complicated history.
Wait, I'm sorry. Are you attempting to tell me that DC Comics came out with the multiverse before Marvel?
Well, yeah. I think that what issue was it? I've got it over there. It's they introduced the multiverse in the 60s.
Yeah, Flash of Two Worlds, Flash 123 was the first time that DC had this idea that heroes that happened in the golden age, the 50s and the late 40s, was the golden age of comic books. And it was, the old Superman and Batman and Jay Garrick as the Flash and stuff like this. And then in the 60s, they introduced the whole concept of the new Silver Age versions of the same characters. And the idea was the old guys were on Earth 2, and that represented the World War II era heroes, and Earth 1 was us, our new guys, and that's how it kind of started. But by the time Crisis on Infinite Earths came out in 1983, 86, we just went over that. But by the time it came out in 86, there was Earth 1, 2, 3, Earth S, Earth Z, Earth 57, Earth 972. Like, there was just a multitude of Earths. Like, one Earth contained all the Charlton characters that they inherited from Charlton Comics. I pronounce it both ways because people are weird. Characters. You don't have characters, so why would you have Charlton Comics? It's Carlton Comics. Give me a break. Charlton Heston be damned. But I digress.
It's cocklet.
Yeah,
you're eating white cocklet.
Right, cocklet. I digress. But what was that English quote I posted recently? The English language follows other languages into an alleyway and beats them with a billy club for words. But it just got kind of in DC Editorial's view, it got a little convoluted. It was a little bit too much. There was too many Earths, too confusing. So the crisis was to merge all the Earths. And of course, when you merge decades of history, there's some glitches. There's some problems. There's some continuity errors there. So
I thought they did a really good job of it, honestly. Yeah. But yeah, I think over time, it started to fray a little bit. They started introducing other Earths anyways, when they definitely did not want to have a multiverse. I mean, I guess it was technically not continuity, but the Earth 2 comic where was it Earth 2? The one where they had the JSA, the cover was flipped on the book, and I think it had like the evil Justice League and the
that's
JSA and them. I think
that's JLA Earth 2 from the year 2000.
Yeah,
that's a fantastic book because basically it was the Injustice League of America versus the Justice League of America, and in the old continuity that was Earth 3, where the heroes were the bad guys and the villains were the good guys. Lex Luthor was a good guy. So yeah, that got reintroduced in the year 2000 by Grant Morrison, and that's a fantastic book. That was on my list. I read that one all the time.
Yeah, I don't own it actually. I thought I did.
It's pretty good.
I don't have it over there.
But yeah, like Tony said, the Flash dies that everybody's used to. Barry Allen, Supergirl dies. A whole bunch of other characters that you've never heard of die. That's one of the cool things, seeing one of George Perez's like big, huge. I'm sorry, this is your comic. but I love it too, and I read it like crazy. So I'm taking over. You go back to.
No, it's all right. It's all right. You're doing a good job.
Yeah, some of those panels where they open up. Like, I read comics in the 70s, and every so often there'd be like a showcase was a comic series, and it'd be like an anniversary issue and stuff. Just
like that's recreated everywhere by
so iconic.
Every company.
Yeah,
like there's a couple of panels there where they have all the heroes assembled, and you can literally see characters from the 60s that you haven't seen in 20 years, character from the 70s that you haven't seen in 10 years, and all these other characters. It's like, oh, I know who that's Firebrand, and that's Vigilante from the 60s, not the Vigilante from the 80s. And it's just a great piece of comic work.
Yeah, there's one panel, I think everybody's gathered in the satellite.
That's probably what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
And I think that's they're just sort of all over the satellite. I mean, this is not it, but this is similar, I guess.
Like the Shazam crew is in there, Mary Marvel, Captain Marvel. It's just awesome. That's just awesome. I loved it.
Yeah.
I've read it, but apparently I don't love it as much as you guys. But,
that's because the Punisher's not in
it. Also true. But I think out of that, the thing that is my most favorite is that it gives birth to the Wally West as the Flash.
Yeah.
And that's where my heart is in that series. I loved Wally West. That was my Flash growing up, right? So that was his birth, right, as the Flash. So that was my favorite part of that series.
Yeah, that Wally West Flash #1 is the very first comic book that I put on a pull list, so to speak, and it's the longest series that I've ever collected without, well, I won't say without stopping, because every once in a while I get the little hissy fit and I'm like, I'm never buying Flash again. 2 weeks later, I'm like, can you put Flash back on my list? Can you get me all the issues I missed? But yeah, that Flash #1 is like the start of the most purchased series in my history, anyways. So yeah,
there's a lot of great stuff that came out at the end of this series. I mean, Justice League International, blah ha ha ha.
Which Marty hates. We all know Marty hates that one.
Still
series.
Ever heard of them?
It's
because they all had their pants on.
It's one of those series that you either love or hate. It's really there's no in between on it. It's
I think Chris was in between though.
I hated it at first, and then I kind of grew to like it a little bit, taking it for what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely was not my Justice League at first.
Oh, I just devoured that left, right, and center, because to be honest with you, I'm all about the secondary characters. I'm all about, like, I love Green Arrow way more than I love Superman. You know, I like all these other kind of secondary characters, and when they put Mr. Miracle and Shazam and you know, Black Canary and all that stuff all in one Justice League series, and then they put a very brooding Batman to kind of babysit this club, I'm like, oh yes, take my money. Take it all.
I mean, it has a pretty iconic moment in it that's constantly referred to. That one series, the one punch.
Yeah.
If you know it, you know it.
I literally exclaimed out loud in grade 10 drafting at lunchtime, in the grade 10 drafting room when I was reading that comic while eating a sandwich. I was like, I probably said something like, you know, holy. But this is radio. We're not allowed.
I guess you did like it.
Yeah. No, it was good.
I'm just trying to find the covers, because this week I bought a couple of the single issues. But the reason I bought them was they were signed by Mr. Perez.
Oh.
So I picked those up on eBay. I couldn't afford the Supergirl issue 7. I couldn't afford issue 8. They had a huge number on that. Well, I could afford it, but I certainly wasn't going to pay for it.
Yeah.
But so I got a couple of, I think issue 8. I can't remember now. I'd have to look at my eBay, but I bought 2 of them, and I bought them because really, if you think of George Perez, my mind automatically goes to the covers of this series, without question. There were other ones I really wanted, but I went to buy one, and I asked the guy a question, and then suddenly it wasn't available for sale anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the heartbreaking news that George Perez has got a cancer issue there, and he doesn't expect to make it too much longer. You know, the prices on this stuff is going through the roof, and it's a bit ridiculous. It's just kind of silly. I mean, I know he's on his way, but that doesn't mean that any less copies of New Teen Titans #1 or any less copies of Crisis on Infinite Earths aren't out there. So
sure.
Yeah. English is a second language. Leave me alone. But yeah,
like it's the job.
It's just nuts. It's like, why? Like, you know, I'm gonna buy this book now while it's $20, and I hope to flip it when it's 30 and make money and be happy. And somebody gets stuck with it at 30, you know, being conned into thinking this is a big collectible, and it's gonna drop again. It's gonna dark hawk right into the floor.
I don't know about these Perez issues and his signature being on them or not. One of them had his signature, the other one had his and Marv Wolfman's. Yeah. So I was fortunate to get them when I did, because I suspect that they are probably not as inexpensive as I purchased them on Tuesday.
Yeah. Tuesday signed copies. Yeah, I agree. I kind of got mixed up there, but yeah, signed copies. I think I have a George Perez. I was trying to remember what issue it is. I'd have to look, but it's one of those CBCS signature verified, because it's signed on the inside cover.
Oh, right. Yeah. There's a few of those on eBay right now.
Yeah. Like, that's one thing. I don't know how many times I've told everybody, if you're buying a comic collection, open to the splash page. I mean, just, you got to look, because that was where, even now, novelists and so that's where they sign. They sign on the inside. They don't sign on the cover. And comic creators used to do that. And I found, Mike Grell, George Perez. There's people that found Jack Kirby signatures. There's I got, I don't know, at least 12 books. Jim Starlin, Iron Man from, I think it's like issue 51 or something like this, 48, somewhere around there, all signed on the inside splash page. And it's like, oh, this is history. This is fantastic.
It's fantastic. It doesn't really show it off in a frame, which is the only other issue I have, because that's what I bought them for, to put them in frames up on my wall. You guys can't see the walls, but they're basically just covered in comic books and in comic book frames.
Yeah.
I know that Marty has a CGC 9.8 of Crisis on Infinite Earths #1, don't you, Marty? Because you bought it from me. You're looking at me like you don't know.
I honestly
you bought it
don't.
from me like a year ago.
I'll have to look. I'm sure I got it. I'm sure I have it because you said I do, but 52-year-old Martin's like going, did I sell that for 60 cents when I sold the collection? But no, I didn't let go of any.
No, this was a CGC,
Yeah, I didn't let go of any slabbed books, so it's probably there in the list for sure.
I just sold my complete Crisis on Infinite Earths singles to Dan when I sold a bunch of my collection, but I do have the trade, and I would agree. I love this series. It's one that I don't read it every year, but I'll read it now, and I read it all the time because it is just one of the most brilliant events ever.
It's a huge undertaking.
Yeah, and also but was this the first major event that a comic book company put out, or was there?
No, if I have to look back, I think Marvel's Contest of Champions was first.
Yeah,
of course it has to be Marvel
by a few years at least.
Or you could consider the crossovers in Justice League back in the 60s as being potentially
all 60s, all
but
70s, every summer. Instead of an annual, the Justice Society would cross over with the Justice League. Every
14,
summer
15,
when I was a kid.
14, 15 characters in there. I mean, it generally didn't cross over to any other issues until later when they crossed over with Infinity Incorporated and All-Star, not All-Star Squadron, Young All-Stars.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. That was a staple. Every summer, Justice League, there'd be a Justice Society crossover. And I swallowed those books. I love those books because I absolutely love the Justice Society. You take a look at some of those iconic covers and, the reintroduction of some of those Justice Society characters. I'm trying to remember which Justice League it was. The Justice Leaguers are around a table, and all the Justice Society guys are in this cloud bubble as somebody's doing hocus pocus with a.
It's Justice League of America. I've got it on my wall. Just a sec. Just let me grab it.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure that's the first time they had the Justice Society crossover, and it just, I'm just pumped with nostalgia because those were the absolute prime best comic book reading years for me was around that Crisis and the Justice Society and stuff.
It's Dusty, but
yeah, that's him. Yeah, that's him. And I'm pretty sure that's the first time that the JSA crossed over with the Justice League.
It's the second one. The second crossover, the second Earth 2 crossover, I think, since Flash.
Yeah, because in the Flash 123, it was just Jay Garrick that came over with the Flash.
Yeah, this wasn't too far after that, actually. Earth 3.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know. I dug that stuff. I'm an Elseworlds what if kind of guy. I just dug that stuff. It was just fun as heck. And give me Alan Scott Green Lantern over Hal Jordan any day.
Ooh.
Any day. I love Hal Jordan. Don't get me wrong. I love Green Lantern, but Alan Scott Green Lantern, when he showed up in that funky costume and he was allergic to wood instead of yellow. Oh, that was awesome. That was fun.
There's not a Green Lantern I hate. Well, Nort, but
how can you hate Gnort? He's awesome.
No Guy Gardner fans or haters or what?
Ridiculous, but Gnort's fun.
I like Guy. I think Guy has his issues. But anyways, off track. So the second book Sorry, Marty.
No, it's
the
okay.
second book I reread is Watchmen. I mean, what can you say about this? It hasn't already been said by everybody who brings up the TV series, who brings up the movie, who brings up the individual comics, who brings up the trade. I mean, it's such a solid read from start to finish.
Right
And
up
it's
until you
heavy.
get to the octopus vagina monster at the end.
It's dense, and yeah, I mean, the ending is definitely definitely leaves a little bit to be desired. There's the octopus vagina monster.
I have issues with
Adam?
Alan. I have
Yeah.
issues with Alan Moore that
The JJ.
I have some issues with Alan Moore and some of his attitude and stuff, and I'm sure we've gone over it over and over and over again. But I mean, he is a fantastic storyteller. You know, he does do great comics. It's just a shame that he then snots on them. But I've got the same book. You know,
Yeah.
This is my original first volume trade paperback, same as yours, and you can see that it's insanely well read. This thing's been to Jamaica. This thing's been to Cuba. You know, I take it with me whenever I go on a trip and reread it every year, and it's just a classic.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I don't really know what else to say about it aside from I just reread it, and every time I read it, I enjoy it just as much as I did the first time I did.
It's one of those books that you find even all these years later, you can still find a few little nuances that you either forgot were there or you didn't pick up or whatever. There's always something that you're like, oh man, I kind of forgot that was in there, or wow, that's in there. I missed that. It's a very multi-layered story. I mean, I remember the first time that I found out that The Watchmen was basically just a reworking of a story plot that they had for the original Carlton characters. And that the time I read it after finding that out, and I was like, oh yeah, that's Blue Beetle. That's the question. I see where that character came from. I see where that got changed. And that added another new cool layer where you're like, oh, I see how that got reworked. And yeah, that's better than it could have been, or, you know, that could have changed differently. So that was kind of neat too when I first found that out way back in the day, that this book was supposed to be done with a completely different set of characters.
When I found that out, I was like insanely disappointed in Captain Atom. Like,
yeah,
it's just as soon as you figure out, like, Dr. Manhattan's based on Captain Atom. Wow, that doesn't seem right.
But yeah, The Watchmen's fantastic. I mean,
I don't want to go into too many other ones because those are the ones that I do read. There's other ones that I think I'm going to read again and start making a regular reread of them, but I don't know. I think other people might have them on their list. I don't want to bring it up. Maybe at the end.
Before we move on though, like, I just want to talk about The Watchmen for a minute, because it's also another story that I love. I haven't read it as much as you guys. I don't read it every year, but it, like, I pulled my copy out just to look at, and like, I'm just flipping through it, and I'm just, you know, this has to be one of the most solid stories that you can find. And even like the beginning, like Rorschach talking at the beginning, and his stuff, like, just there's so much iconic dialogue and iconic quotes in these that are just, you know, amazing. And agreed that you can reread it and read it and read it and still find cool little things that you missed the first time, the second time, the third time. And yeah, it's definitely one of the best, like, comic books ever, I would say.
Yeah,
I mean, there are some legit moments in there, like stuff that just, you know, it holds you. I mean, I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck in here with me.
Oh,
yeah, right.
I did it 20, I forget what it was, 30 minutes ago or whatever. I forget the exact quote. I did it 35 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
There's
like,
just those moments.
Amazing.
Like, there's no doubt whatsoever that it is a work of fiction. Not just fiction, because Dave Gibbons, I mean, that's some pretty outstanding flipping artwork.
Yeah.
But this was one of the premier writers of the medium at his absolute prime. It's just an all-out classic. I don't think I've ever seen a single top 10 graphic novel list that didn't have Watchmen on it.
I don't think I have either.
Yeah.
Did you know that Gerhardt worked on this book in a couple of parts?
I did not know. No. Is he credited in the credits at least?
I don't know, but I sat with him for a while. He gave me a print of one of the splashes.
Nice.
I'm trying to find it.
That would be the fellow that used to do all the backgrounds for Cerebus.
Yeah.
Just to draw Adam back into the conversation because he's like, what? DC? What?
What? Yeah.
What? 1980? What?
I might be talking out of my ass, but it's language.
No, you can
maybe
say it.
maybe it was a recreation of the I think it was a recreation, sorry.
Yeah.
Of the image, but it's of his palace on Mars.
Oh. It's just fantastic. I mean,
because Gerhardt's just an amazing background guy.
Yeah.
Actually, talk amongst yourselves for like 30
All right. So those are Tony's two fantastic picks. I have no qualms about anything he's picked, and those are two books that I do reread all the time as well. Who's next? Who wants to go with their list? Chris is just itching there. He's just like ready to pull out a Punisher book. I can just see him.
Surprisingly, not a Punisher book. Oh, Tony's back with his picture, and then I'll.
Okay.
Then I'll.
So hard to see, but
that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's.
The entire background was done by Gerhardt.
That's fantastic.
Dr. Manhattan was not.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the only thing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's neat.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess I'm gonna jump us ahead to the 90s because that's where
Oh, good. We get to hear about Wildcats.
Sorry, boys. No, it's not Wildcat. So
Gen 13.
No, I don't actually have the trade of Maximum Carnage, but I reread it. So I have it digitally and I have all the issues. So that's one of the ones that usually once a year, I mean, it's 14 issues long. So it's not a small, just quick run of the mill, but I really just enjoy that whole series. Again, I wasn't really into Spider-Man much before that run. And so I don't know what happened for Carnage to have lost the symbiote before that, but all of a sudden, it just comes out of his blood. Basically, it's like the first time that he never, that he has the symbiote, but it's not actually part of the symbiote. It's actually in his blood where they've removed it, but they couldn't remove it all. So it was just so much fun, Carnage running around, just blowing stuff up and killing people. And it was, and then they bring in in my opinion, underused characters like Deathlock, and it's just a lot of fun.
Didn't they take it from him and kill it or something right before that?
Yeah,
it sounds. I know I read it, but it's been so long.
Yeah, well, that's I wasn't really into it much, but I think that they thought they had killed the actual symbiote, and then somebody cuts him when he's on his. They scratch him or something, and then all of a sudden the Carnage, the symbiote, comes out of his blood, and it gets pretty wild and crazy from there. So that's kind of one that I really enjoy, and I'm probably the only one that reads that one.
It's good stuff.
Yeah,
I don't reread it, but I do remember it being a pretty good story. Wasn't there an 8-armed Spider-Man and
Doppelganger?
The Doppelganger.
Yes.
Yeah, and Shriek and Hobgoblin and Demogoblin.
Demogoblin.
Yeah, and it was just it was kind of all of the B villains except for Venom and Carnage. Except Venom is teamed up with Spider-Man in this one, so it was kind of all of the A characters were off doing something else, and so this was just the B character teams, the bad guys and the good guys, and they were all just running around having a good time. So.
Was this Ben Reilly Spider-Man, or was this before Ben Reilly?
Oh, I don't know. When they did the big shakeup and they realized that Peter Parker wasn't really Peter Parker, it was, and yeah, so I'm not really sure.
I just can't remember. I seem to remember it being around that time, but I couldn't remember if the story was with Ben or if it was with Peter.
It would have been.
I just read it crossed over in Web of Spider-Man 101, and I'm not frantically firing up the internets for that, but it does look like it was Peter Parker.
I think it was Peter Parker, but when they sort of did the Clone Wars and all, or the not maximum clonage and all that craziness, I'm pretty sure that it was Ben that was in Peter Parker's spot, because it wasn't. So I think you're right, but in kind of a convoluted, very messy kind of a very messy way. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed that one, and the cover art for that stuff was pretty fantastic too. There was some pretty iconic looking covers in that. So
yeah.
So that's number one read. I do that once a year, and then the next one is not really one trade; it's three. And so I read the Death of Superman, The Return of the Superman, and World Without a Superman. I read those three trades. I really I enjoy the story. Again, you sort of see some of like I call them the B Justice League, like you've got Fire and Ice and, the Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. You get to see Guy Gardner get his face punched in by. So it's kind of a fun read for me. I enjoy those ones too.
And he decimates the team in like 12 or 15 pages.
Yeah, basically one book, he just destroys the Justice League. He just plows right through them. Yeah, but no, so those are the.
Do you have those still mint, Chris? Do you collect them, the Death of Superman singles for retirement?
I do have all of the singles, but I actually do have like the trades, and then like this one I actually bought at Zeller's. That's the actual Death of Superman trade, like when I was in high school. So it was, I don't know what year that was, 1996 or whatever, 1993.
It's worth more if you have the Zeller's sticker on it.
Yeah, no, it still has the glue from it, if that's any the sticker is gone, but the glue remains. And then actually same with this one, The World Without Superman, which is basically like the funeral and all that fun stuff. But I bought that one off the shelf at Zeller's. I mean, the pages are all yellowed and they're definitely not mint like my singles, but yeah, so those ones are my favorite reads, and I kind of keep going back to them and reading them. And I don't know, I guess for me, the day that Superman died was actually kind of a big deal. Like they kind of super hyped it, and I don't know whether it was just lightning in a bottle, but it just seemed to be it was everywhere. Like it was in the news. It was and originally when they first pitched it, and I was talking to Ted, and he's like, "Are you going to get this series?" And I'm like, "No, man, they're not going to keep Superman dead. Like any idiot knows that they're going to kill him and bring him back." And so then it wasn't until the Return of Superman, when they brought back the four different Supermen, that I was like, you know what?
Reign of the Superman.
The Reign of the Superman. And I was just like, I am on board with this. I was getting all four series. I was getting the Man of Steel, like John Henry Irons, and I was getting the Alien and the Cyborg. I got all that, and that was like, I jumped on hardcore at that, and they had the direct and the newsstand issue, so I got both those covers, and I was just running with that series like full on. And so then I went back and bought all the other stuff. But yeah, it was. So for me, that was kind of like the jump on point for that. And I was never really a big Superman guy before that. I don't know. He always just seemed to, I don't know, clean. I like my characters kind of dirty and gritty, and the ones that people are like, oh, you like him, and because I like Lobo, and I like the Punisher and Wolverine, and that's the kind of like dirty kind of characters that I like to read. So for me, getting into clean cut Superman was not.
Your
it was
parents
kind of
were like,
outside
"Oh,
the
thank
norm.
God,
Yeah, they were like, finally somebody I could relate
a
to.
good role model."
Yeah,
The Boy Scout.
yeah, and that was honestly part of the reason that I stayed away from it. Was because he was a Boy Scout. Kind of like reading Spider-Man. It was not really my jam, and but every once in a while, like Spider-Man would do a run, and I'm like, you know what, I got to read that. Venom would be in it or something, and so that would draw me in. And it's not that Spider-Man or Superman were ever really bad characters, but they were just kind of too clean cut for what I like to read. So,
well, for the longest time, a character like Superman and a character like Spider-Man, that was kind of the iconic image from those two companies. And it's like, we can't do anything to mess with t-shirt sales and action figures and Slurpee cup sales. So, sometimes Soups and Spidey got a little boring, a little staid. They didn't take as many chances as they would with someone like the Punisher or Green Arrow or something like that. Some secondary character where it's like, well, if we make this guy, with a different costume and a little bit more violent or something, or a little bit more mature or whatever in a different town, it doesn't hurt sneaker sales of Spider-Man sneakers or Superman sneakers. Now, it didn't always stay that way. They changed it up. They started mixing things up with Superman and started definitely, some of the iconic Spider-Man stuff that came. But the 70s and 80s for Superman and Spider-Man were kind of, I'm with you. They didn't spark anything for me personally.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Sorry, that sort of thing crosses over into other industries too, where they're just worried about turning characters a little more gritty. I mean, it's the Hulk versus Hollywood Hogan thing. It took him months to decide to go bad because it's gonna affect my T-shirt sales. That doesn't work for me, brother. And when he finally did, he was reinvigorated. He was more popular than he'd been in 10 years.
Yeah.
So it is definitely something. It's a risk, but they generally pay off because you're refreshing the characters.
Yeah, and there's nothing like a little shake up to get people like back reading. And I'm sure that like when they did Maximum Carnage, again, I wasn't following Spider-Man on a daily, but I'm sure that characters like Venom and Carnage were so overused that people were sick of seeing them. And so they did, they took his powers away to try and make it interesting. And then, to bring him back in a multi kind of series like that. And I think the first issues that they were, I can't remember what issues they were, but they were like a supersized issue too. Spider-Man Unlimited. And so they were like 64 pages. So that was like a good kickoff to the series too, because they were like super fat.
I got a few of those. I think there was a couple of different ones, wasn't there?
Yeah, they that was the start of it with Spider-Man Unlimited, and I think it ends with Spider-Man Unlimited too as well. I'm not sure, but I really enjoyed reading both those series. I mean, I also hit Nightfall too because I like that one. So those are kind of like the my rereads that I kind of hit all the time, and maybe once a year I'll go back and read them all. And I mean, like the Nightfall stuff, it is thick, like there's a lot of books. I mean, that was like a 2 or 3 year run or something for that, like right from the beginning of, and then the breaking of the Batman, and then to like when they actually split it, and you don't
say.
Yeah. Yeah, I got those same ones. And then you've got like Azrael as Batman. And I honestly, me personally, I really enjoyed Azrael as Batman. I know it was not people's Batmans, and a lot of Batman guys were really upset with it. But I was like, you know what? Here's a Batman that doesn't mind like killing somebody if why let him go to prison so he can get back out again? Like if I kill him, he's never going to bother anybody ever again. And so it was kind of nice to see like that out of a Batman, but I can see why like hardcore Batman guys were like, I hate this guy. I want my Batman back.
Yeah. Like literally, Bruce, how many people's lives could you have saved if you just snapped Joker's neck?
Yeah.
You know, that was the whole principle. I really dug Azrael before he became Batman, when they started introducing him as a character. I thought he was fantastic. And then, you know, they gave him the weird 90s spiky, armor Batman. Yeah, that could have gone away, but the stories were good. The stories were good.
I just never connected with the character. I was excited when Dick became Batman. Like super excited. Rat tail and all. I was just so happy. Like it just that's exactly what it should have been. To me, that's exactly where it should that cowl should have been on him. But I get what they were doing, what they were trying to do, and obviously Prodigal Son didn't actually last all that long, but it was just super cool to see him in the outfit.
That interaction between I know we're diverging slightly here, but that interaction between Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne when they were Batman and Robin was just like, I honestly think the book could have survived if they never brought Bruce Wayne back and still be just as popular. That was really good. You know, I don't think that was the case with Azrael, but it was a fun story for sure. And if you take a look at what was happening in Superman with Superman Red and Blue at the
nobody cared about that either.
Electro Superman meeting his evil twin Electro Superman, like no, Batman was doing it much better,
but I think every once in a while they got to do kind of like what Tony was saying, like they got to mix it up. They got to get people reinvigorated. And if they can make a Batman that people don't want, then they really push for the Bruce that they do want, right? And so then that kind of reinvigorates the sales when you know Bruce is coming back, because at the same time they were running the Azrael side on the other 4 books, because I think at that time there was 4 Batman books. There was the Batman series Detective, Legend of the Dark Knight, and Shadows of the Dark Knight, or something like that. So they were running 4 books, and then 2 of them were Azrael and 2 of them were Bruce Wayne. You know, he's in a wheelchair, but he's learning how to do things, and he's trying to find a cure for his back. And I think that really made people want Bruce back, because especially the ones that didn't like Azrael. But I don't know. I like it.
I would have been happy just to not see him come back and just, you know, remain as Dick Grayson, or Dick Grayson remain as Batman, team up with Wally and Kyle, and you know, that would have been just fine by me.
But I mean, see, that's like natural progression, right? And that's where they should go. And I think like that's where maybe, I don't know, comic books are kind of missing. Like they set up these characters like Dick Grayson. I mean, he's grown up. He's not a boy Robin anymore. So what do they do with him? So they give him Nightwing, and he does that for a while. But like at some point, people would rather see him wear the cowl than to see Bruce Wayne keep doing it. So, I mean, maybe they need to shake it up. And I get where they want to have diversity in the comics. So then they come up with a black Batman. And, you know, I don't know if people are buying it. It didn't swing my goat, but then I didn't buy the regular Batman stuff either. But if they did bring Nightwing and a Batman, like, would that have made more sense as opposed to trying, you know, to swing a different direction? Like, you know, give somebody from the Bat family an actual, like, let him run with it, see what happens.
See, that's the difference between a corporation running DC and Marvel, and back in the day when it was writers and editors running those 2 companies, because
that's true.
You just take a look at television, cartoons and stuff like this. Dick Grayson is Robin. Even if he's wearing Tim Drake's costume, they call him Dick. If he's wearing Damian's costume, they call him Dick. It's always Dick Grayson, because the general populace won't accept or understand a non-Dick Grayson and a non-Bruce Wayne Batman. I think it's malarkey. They absolutely would.
It's always Barry when they talk with the Flash.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they brought back Barry. That's why they
Justice League.
Yeah, that's why they brought back you know, all this other stuff. And just the Justice League United cartoon is a perfect example where Jon Stewart was the main Green Lantern. And for a huge generation of people, they're like, who's this white guy? Because Green Lantern is Jon Stewart and he's cool as heck.
Yeah.
You know, it totally works. So
Wally
that's my
was,
kids,
was
right?
the Flash.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think they could have easily have left, you know, Nightwing as Batman and Damian, but well, we got 12 minutes and 30 seconds left.
And two
And
gentlemen.
Adam is
Sorry, guys.
falling asleep because we're
I am
talking
not.
about too much DC. So, Adam, let her rip. What have you got? Because I know you're going to have something completely different from what we've liked so far.
Yeah, I actually brought 3. I'm gonna rapid fire them because they're pretty small because I like to read the smaller books. I'm gonna turn off my background picture so we can actually see them. There we go. So my first pick is a Marvel book, and that is Marvel Universe versus the Punisher. So there's our Punisher. This is a great 4-issue, I guess like mini, not series, but it's about the Punisher killing some bad guys, and he spills this like this toxin that turns people into cannibals, and it starts off with Spider-Man eating, I think it was Rhino, like at a hockey game, and they make tribes around the city, and it's amazing. So if you haven't read this, read this. This is great. I read this every year. My next one is about, I'm gonna see if you guys can guess it. It's about a girl who didn't ask to become a superhero, but it was forced upon her, and she joins another group of superheroes that fight bad guys. Which one?
Imp.
No.
Oh.
It's written by Garth Ennis.
What's her name?
Garth Ennis wrote it. That's a good clue. It's the precursor to The Boys, which is The Pro.
Oh.
Which is a great book. She's a prostitute, and yeah, she gets powers, and this is literally the prototype for The Boys. So if you like The Boys, read this because it's the same story, I guess more adult than what The Boys is. If you like The Boys.
Do you only read it because she's a prostitute?
No. Yes.
Didn't Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor do something like that? Did they work on The Pro? Was it
that was this one? Yes. So they're right up there. Yeah, it's a great book. There's a cartoon short, which kind of I think they were trying to make this a live action movie as well, and that never happened. And then my third pick is by my boy Brandon Graham. I have to put my hand over parts of the cover. There we go. Whoops, sorry.
The video's not on radio.
Yes, which is Pillow Fight, which is about a girl who gets sent to a boarding school because her parents caught her doing naughty things, and there's a bunch of naughtiness in this book. So much naughtiness, and that's all I'm going to say. Other than they get a magical, I think they call it a lamp, and it makes the one girl grow something that she wouldn't normally have, and then the girls have fun using her new equipment.
And you read this every year?
Oh, probably more than
once a year.
Because it's not that
size
that
isn't everything that matters there.
No, but they enjoy it, so that's what counts.
Oh, you didn't need to cover that cover.
No, well,
I had to go look it up.
Yeah, it's not.
You got Tony
just in case. I'll cover up. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's Brandon Graham, who did the reboot of Prophet, multiple Warheads, just a bunch of great stuff. And he got to start in adult comics, which he was ashamed of at one point, but now he's just like, it's like, yes, I drew penises and boobies, and I liked it. And those are my 3. So read all of them. They're not that expensive. They're all, like I said, pretty small, 70 pages max.
What was your first one again?
Marvel Universe versus the Punisher.
Sounds like it was the prototype Marvel Zombies.
I think it came out after Marvel Zombies.
After?
Yes, but it has
that, Adam.
I'm sorry.
It was early.
This was 2011, 2010. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Cool.
That's it.
That means we gotta go on to Dan.
I said, Dan, that's rapid fire. Your turn.
How much time do we got, Marty?
8 minutes and 30 seconds. But to be honest with you, Tony stole my 2. So these are backup 2s. So if we don't have time for me, it's all good.
Fine.
Sorry,
we'll have time for you.
No, it's all good.
Jerk.
I talked plenty during your 2, so it's all good for sure. So Dan, take us away.
Tony started us off with the first Crisis, and one of mine would be Final Crisis from Grant Morrison. This was actually the comic book that got me into, right when I came back to comics in the mid 2000s. This one was just coming out, and I was super excited for it. It was the first hardcover collection that I ever bought. and picked that up, read it from cover to cover, had no idea what was happening in any of it because I hadn't been paying attention to comics. And it uses so many obscure characters doing all this stuff. And so I literally had to like go onto forums and look up what the characters were and stuff, because there was so much. So like there's so much happening. It's a Grant Morrison story. So there's a lot happening, and everything that's happening is important in some way. First time I read it, I didn't get it. And then I read it again after reading some stuff, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And then I read it again and I was like, this is great. And then I read it again and I was like, this is amazing. And I just love it. I read it every year. I have it. It's one of those ones I have. I don't have all the floppies, but I have the hardcover. I have it digitally so I can read it wherever I go if I want. And I just think it's a great story. Okay, it's a good story. You have to like the story in order to actually like it. Like if you don't like it, if you hate it, that's fine. Like it's a perfectly hateable story, but I just happen to really enjoy it. And it's so like meta, and there's so much going on, and some great Grant Morrison stuff in there.
That's a Superboy punching reality series, right?
No, that was Crisis on Infinite, or that was Infinite Crisis.
Infinite
right?
Crisis, gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
I couldn't remember if it was that or Final, but yeah,
No.
I liked it. I still have all my original issues. I won't get rid of them.
I currently have no, I don't. I was trying to get the CGC. What's it called, Marty? When you have the set thing?
The registry. The CGC registry.
The number one place in the CGC registry for Final Crisis at one point, because I enjoyed it so much. And I think I've got like either 2 or 3 slabs that are signed by various creators on that in my collection still. I didn't sell them. So it's very cool. I love the J.G. Jones's art. He did the art for like the first 2 or 3 issues before Doug Mankey took over. I'm not a big Doug Mankey fan, but J.G. Jones, I love his art, and he does all the covers and love the art. On to my next one. I think most of us here will appreciate, at least, I would say at least 60%. And that is Captain Canuck, the original series. This is the Captain Canuck Compendium from Chapter House. This was
full color 15.
Full color 15. Full disclosure, I'm reading this right now digitally. And I read this more than once a year. I usually read this set, like this series 1 through 14, the summer special, and then issue 15, which came later. I usually read this 2 to 3 times a year. And
there's no doubt in my mind that by now you have read that way more than I have.
I just love this. I love these stories so much, and I can read them over and over again, and they just get better. And as you read through, the stories get better. Like the later issues from like issue 12 or 10, 11, 12, I think, like when he's doing the space issues, like those. I love the alien issues, the time travel issues. I love it all. And yeah, like I probably read this series I probably read it 3 times a year, sometimes maybe even 4 times a year. But I got this for Christmas. I'm not sure. It says 2015 in here as the release date. I'm not sure if it came out in 2015 for real. Or if that's just the date in there.
It actually did. Yeah.
So,
it actually made it on time.
On time. So I got this for Christmas from, I think my brother gave me for this for Christmas. Signed by Richard. It was my first introduction to Captain Canuck, where I actually read, because I had just read issue 1, maybe up to that point. And I started reading this through really slowly, and it probably took me more than a year to read it through the first time. And then when I got to the end, I was all sad, because I was like, now there's no more of these original Captain Canuck. Like, yes, we have the Chapter House Captain Canuck, but there's something sad about finishing for the first time a run of great comics that like, this is it, this is the end. And so it took me forever.
what did you think? Like, did you read all new classic Captain Canuck after? Like, did you read
Yes.
those and then roll into all new classic Captain Canuck immediately afterwards?
Not immediately, because I don't think those had been released when I finished, or at least not the whole
well, I mean,
four.
at any
But
point did you go through them and then hit up the all new classic as like the next day's read?
Yeah, 100%.
What did you think?
Like Marty's making gestures, and I agree. Like, we both loved all new classic Captain Canuck.
Big time.
Yeah, thought
that was
great.
awesome. Yeah, that was a little bit of a heartbreak for me that that series didn't continue, because that was some really great, fantastic writing, and the classic Canuck costume and the grizzly beard thing that was going on there for a little bit. You're like, oh,
that was great.
This is great. Like, not to take anything away from the newer Captain Canuck stories, because some of those are fantastic stories too, but that all new classic Canuck was just like, oh, this is gem. This is
Marty
great.
and I definitely aren't constantly petitioning people at Chapter House and then Lev Gleason for more of that. We definitely don't do that constantly. So
man, it's complicated. Like,
it's a story and a half that we don't have to get into.
no, I can't. But it definitely, once you roll into the Zero issue, which was the backups to the first 5 issues of Captain Canuck, 6 issues of Captain Canuck. Once you roll into those and then you roll into 1 through 4, I mean, I find that it flows really well, and then it kind of feels a little bit rushed at the end, because there was some complications. I just keep saying complications, but there's some complications that it had to be wrapped up in 4 issues, and there was a 5th issue planned that was never released. Some covers that were done that were never released.
We're not going to mention last season of Game of Thrones and compare it to issue 4. We're not going to make that comparison publicly, but
yeah, but I don't think you'll get another all new classic Captain Canuck because of where it is now, where they've gone to Beyond, and I just don't see. I don't see it being able to.
We don't need this kind of negativity in our lives.
I don't think you're going to be able to reclaim
multiverse, that. Cough, classic, cough, Earth 2, cough.
Hey, Dan, is issue 15 in that one?
Yeah, as Tony said, issue 15 is in this one, and it's colorized for the first time, I believe, right?
Yeah, the IDW one was black and white.
Yeah.
And this one is in color. But the IDW one also had like the newspaper strips, but this one doesn't.
And to be honest with you, the IDW was the last time I read it cover to cover, was when that came out. So although I have that compendium, I have not read it cover to cover like Dan has.
You should open up your compendium to see, because mine has
upside down pages.
Upside down pages.
You got the.
I looked in my
regular. Upside down.
Yeah.
No word of a lie. My 5 copies do not have the flipped pages.
Yeah, I saw it once, and I gave my copy away to somebody at a show because they had the upside down one, and I felt bad. So I actually don't have a copy of that on my shelves. I had to look to double check.
I always thought that was kind of funny that I've got 5 copies, and we probably bought them in the same place, Dan and I, at the same time.
No, I got mine for Christmas, so my brother bought it, so I have no idea.
His is upside down, and mine are not. I'm like, oh, that's a bit.
Although I do have a case of Chapter House books formerly Chapter House books over there that I haven't been through in a while. There might be one in there.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, folks, that is all the time we have for this week, which is great, fantastic, because we covered some pretty darn iconic books that are just hilarious.
Adam's books, man.
I've already hit eBay to order. To order Adam's books. I did not read them, but just real quick
to talk about his.
Yeah, my 2 books were Camelot 3000 and Kingdom Come, which the green screen is having a nice fest with. Also, fantastic works. That one image of Superman carrying the tractor.
Yes.
Oh, for a Golden Age Superman, Earth 2 Justice Society Superman lover. Brilliant. But all the books were fantastic. So we're done. We're finished. That's it. We will tune in. Oh, Legion of Superheroes, man.
Great Darkness Saga. That was another one that I was going to try and sneak in there, but
there's so
Secret
much
Wars,
so much good books, so many good
Gauntlet.
books. But tune in next week. Of course, hit heykidscomics.ca. Catch all the back episodes and stuff like this. Hit youtube.heykidscomics.ca. All the links are on the webpage for absolutely everything. And we'll see you next week.
You have been listening to the Hey Kids Comics Radio Show broadcast through the facilities of Trent Radio on 92.7 CFFF-FM in Peterborough, Ontario, and available as a downloadable podcast at www.heykidscomics.ca and at www.firstcomicsnews.com. Promotional consideration for the show was provided by no one. Are you kidding me? We couldn't get advertisers if we tried. Wardrobe for our hosts was provided by Joe Nerds in Whitby, Ontario. They don't know that fact, but that is where we get 90% of our clothes from. No animals were harmed in the making of this radio show. Marty tried, but allergies won't let him get too close to Sam's cats. The views and opinions expressed by Sam are solely his own and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the rest of the hosts, as we all like the Walking Dead TV show. The Hey Kids Comics Radio Show is a Quinn Martin production and copyright Hey Kids Comico. Rebroadcasting in part or in whole of this show is forbidden, but really, who would want to anyway?
Level check for Eugene Levy CFFF promo. Take 3.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Good level?
Yep.
Bobby Bittman here. I always listen to Trent Radio 92.7. I love this guy, really do.
You do one more of those?
Sure. What was wrong with that one?
Nothing. I just was, the level was a little high.
Okay. Hi, this is Bobby Bittman. When I'm in the Kawarthas, I listen to Trent Radio 92.7 FM.